Hey guys, welcome back to another video with Lim Reviews. So in today's video, I'm super excited to share with you my personal experience with the POCO M3. So I've only been using this device for 2 days because I bought mine and I was waiting for the shipping. But during these 2 days itself, I was really able to understand the device and how it works, how it felt like to use it as a daily driver. So I know there's already a lot of videos out there on YouTube that did full reviews of this device. But in today's video, what's going to be a bit different here is I'll be sharing with you a non-technical view of the POCO M3, how it really feels like on the daily, and a couple of more items that you should know before you purchase this device. So without further ado, let's just jump into the full review right away. Alright, so first up, I just want to talk about this design here. I absolutely love this design. If you're familiar with the OnePlus 8T Cyberpunk edition, you notice that this POCO M3 does have that kind of feel to it as well, and it looks really nice, guys. I mean, this is a very unique way to do the design at the back here, to integrate with the back camera, of course. And another thing that I really love about this device here is also the texture on the back. So I'm just going to try and zoom in a little bit so you can try and see it clearer. But it has this fake leather kind of texture going on at the back here, which is very nice to touch. It doesn't feel like those kind of cheap plastics at all. So very happy that we have that here on the POCO M3. It really elevates the feeling of having this device in your hand to be a more comfortable, just a nicer, smoother experience. Alright, so moving on, just to quickly look on the sides here, we do have your fingerprint scanner and your lock button. And on the other side here, it is a very clean look here. No buttons at all, just your SIM tray ejecting section here over there. Alright, so moving to the front, this is where we have our display here. And first up, obviously, this is just a budget device, an affordable device, so we don't have any kind of high refresh rate display going on here. But what I really must point out here is the fact that this device runs on a 1080p display panel. So we've seen many manufacturers from other brands, you know, they actually release their budget phones, but they only have devices that run 720p displays, and that is just really very poor. Why would I say that? Is because usually in YouTube, for example, if it's only a 720p display, you can't play your videos at the sharper settings, and usually it is a little bit more pixelated. It's not the clearest experience there. So if you're using your device, if you're looking for a device just for that very good display, obviously you can't find the best display here, but this display is definitely very usable. Again, I just want to point out that 1080p on a budget device at this price point is just really amazing, and I'm very happy to have this here on the POCO M3. Right, so a little bit more about that display. Obviously, it doesn't get very bright, but in terms of just usability, again, this is very, very nice for me, and I have a really enjoyable experience on the POCO M3. Alright, moving on, I just want to talk a little bit about the cameras that we have on the back here. So we do have a main sensor, a macro lens, as well as a depth sensor. And obviously, since this is not a very high-spec device, you can't expect the best performance in terms of cameras. But here are a couple of samples that I actually managed to shoot with the POCO M3. And I must say that the images coming from this device is definitely still usable on your social media. One thing to note is that daylight shots is definitely pretty good here, I would say, for this kind of pricing. You can still share it with your friends. You're not going to be printing out the photos, so definitely still usable on social media. Another thing I wanted to point out about the cameras here is that the night mode was actually pretty good as well. I didn't expect a device like this to actually get some decent night mode going on, but yesterday night when the lights were really off, totally dark, I still managed to pull in some decent shots from the POCO M3. Of course, it is not the sharpest, there is still some noise here, but look, you're not really here to go and pinpoint and really zoom into the image itself. So just looking at the image from a further standpoint, the night mode is actually pretty usable on the POCO M3. So in terms of camera, of course, I would have loved if it came with a ultra-wide sensor, but just this on the POCO M3 is perfectly fine if this is going to be like your spare phone, or maybe even like your an entry-level phone for those of you guys who needs this kind of device. Alright, moving on, let's talk a bit more about the performance of the POCO M3. So the POCO M3 here obviously comes with a Snapdragon 662, and again, this is a Snapdragon 600 series compared to other brands who are using 400 series. But yes, this is a very, very good processor for the price. But in terms of performance, of course, you can expect it to be a little bit slow. It is not the fastest, especially when you launch your apps. It will take a couple of seconds. Let me just show it to you guys very quickly. So if I just hit Instagram right here, this is how you will load up. So it is not the slowest, but just notice that there are a couple of stutters here and there when you launch apps. It might take a second to launch again. And let me just go into the camera to show you a bit more context there. So if I just hit the camera, notice that it just starts in about half a second slower. So Not the slowest here, but definitely you'll notice a little bit of lags and delays in between if you're coming from a high performance device. Again, I want to say that my experience on this device has been pretty okay for me, and I'm not saying that because I'm a fan of POCO or something, but literally you have to set your expectations when you buy a device at this price point. Alright, so as you can see here, I've got my launcher set up. After setting up a few things here, the device actually looks fairly good. I have my widgets up there. It looks nice. I have a nice wallpaper. So you just have to do a little bit of tweaking to make this POCO M3 actually feel like a premium device. I've also switched the MIUI's launcher out because I prefer this kind of app drawer where I can see all my apps. And notice that it is not actually very sluggish. It is still acceptable here unless you do into heavy tasking. Alright, one thing to note here a little bit is on the gaming experience. So like as usual, I always play my Mobile Legends, and I was able to get a decent frame rate in when I set my graphic settings to medium. So if you're going to play games, heavy games like Mobile Legends for example, this one right there, you're going to want to tweak down the graphic settings to medium to actually have a decent gameplay. Of course, if you're playing lighter games like Subway Surfers right here, for example, it will not lag at all. It's very smooth, and the only reason you'll lose the game is because maybe you just hit into something. Alright, so that's it for the performance side. Pretty pleased with the experience on the POCO M3. Apart from that, one more thing I want to point out here is the speakers itself. So we've got some surprisingly loud speakers coming from the POCO M3 here, and the sound quality is actually pretty good, guys. I mean, I never expected the POCO M3 to actually come with some decent sounding speakers. I'm not sure if anyone else has mentioned about that, but that's what I'm getting with the POCO M3. So let me just see if I can get a non-copyright audio playing right here. Non-copyrighted music. And let me just show you guys a little bit of context for what we can expect to get from this kind of device right here. Alright, so I'm not sure if you can hear that audio coming through my microphone right here, but yeah, essentially the speaker on the POCO M3 is actually pretty impressive. Seriously, it's pretty good. So you have to hear it out for yourself in person to actually get the feel of the music, but that's really good there. Apart from that, we do have the headphone jack still present on the device. Yep, it is up here. So that's also good news for any one of you guys who are still using that wired earphones, wired headphones or whatever. It will work with the POCO M3. Alright, last point, last but not least, let's talk about that battery life. So we have a huge battery in this device right here, and of course you can expect to get definitely more than 1 day on a single charge with this device right here. Personally, to give you a bit of context, one game of Mobile Legends that took me about 15 to 20 minutes took the battery life about like 6%. So I played one game and it took off 6%, it used up 6% of battery life. So you can play a couple of games on the POCO M3 here. And of course, charging it up is a bit of a slow affair. I didn't really time the charging speed actually, but I would expect it to charge in about 1.5 hours. Just so because it's a huge battery here and I was already using my fast charge charger. So battery life wise, pretty happy, but charging time is a bit slow. Alright guys, I think that's pretty much it for this quick review of the POCO M3. To sum it all up, I would say that for 499 ringgit or whatever pricing you're getting in whatever region you're at, this device is a really affordable smartphone that is actually pretty good. I would say for those of you guys who are looking for a spare phone, you're looking to buy a phone for your little sister, little brother, your mom, whoever. I mean, someone who is new, who doesn't need such a strong device. This device is definitely something that can be recommended. And I would say that this is definitely the best budget smartphone of 2020. No other brands can actually beat this right here. And yeah, that's what I think right now. Alright guys, I think if you have any more further questions, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. As always, I'll be there to reply all of your comments if I can. And stay safe guys. See you guys in the next one. Bye!